Hey everybody. So apparently this week we have a bit of an issue with Facebook, but whatever. We're going to move on. So we're streaming live right now on YouTube and Twitter. We'll try to figure out Facebook for next week. At least this way, no fake Facebook pages can post on our Facebook feed. So that's a win. Anyway, guys, if you don't know me, I'm Kevin Murcko. I'm CEO here at CoinMetro. This is my little AMA. I do this every week, every Friday at 3 p.m. Estonian time. If this is your first time watching, hopefully it's a good show. If it's not, well, hopefully it's still a good show. I mean, I don't know, but thanks for tuning in again if it's not your first time. So I'm going to do something this week that I've never done before. I'm going to see how it goes. I'm going to call this, we're calling this week in 60 seconds. So it's this week in CoinMetro in 60 seconds. So for everybody who likes to ask about, biz dev, what's going on in CoinMetro, when's this going to happen? I'm going to try to knock that out in 60 seconds. So we're going to see how this goes. Hopefully it works out. Hopefully it only takes 60 seconds, and hopefully I can actually get through this very long list within the next 60 seconds. We'll see how fast I can talk and if it makes any sense to everybody who's watching. So I'm going to try to look at the time here. I'm going to try to cue it off right around 1 minute and 30 seconds in, so it's easy for me, so I can monitor. Here we go. This week in 60 seconds, get your stopwatches ready. Let's go. So Flux partnership off to a great start. Obviously, Flux staking already underway. Awesome. Almost going towards 4 million staked. Going pretty good. Recruitment firing on all cylinders here at CoinMetro. We're hiring people left, right, and center. We still need to hire more people. So if you have a resume, send it over, jobs@coinmetro.com. Kadena bonding getting closer and closer. But before that happens, for everybody who wants to ask, XCM staking is coming very, very, very soon. On the tech side, we are well within range of organizing marketing and stuff around XCM staking now. It's coming. Final touches on the product as well. Get ready to fire off those memes. I'm ready to see them. Thought AI listed. So Thought AI, if you haven't looked into Thought AI, do so, because it's pretty cool. You should check it out. It's now listed. IQ protocol and Parsec. We're going to start digging into that mid-month. We're going to see if we can get some APIs out of Parsec and move on from there. Lots of things going on in Treasury. Some things boring, some things not so boring, some things that will probably revolutionize a few of the products we already offer and really start to expand some of the revenue generating engines here at CoinMetro. So that's really cool. I'll have more information on that. And if you have some questions, go ahead and ask them. Compliance, legal, finance, all starting to come together here at CoinMetro, which is allowing us to move much faster when it comes to launching of products and other things inside the ecosystem. So that's super cool. Dubai. I have a lot of stuff to say about Dubai, but the 60 seconds is over. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about that shortly. All right. That was 60 seconds. I think maybe it wasn't 60 seconds. When did it even start? Maybe it was on, I think it was 60 seconds. Maybe it went over. I don't know. I don't even know when we started now. Was it 120? So it was a bit more than 60 seconds. It was 90 seconds. Maybe we should call it 90 seconds in CoinMetro. Anyway, it was the first time, so, first time's usually not the best. All right, let's move on. So let's get into some questions. Put my cheat sheet down, which some people like to call a smartphone. Hey, Daniel, how are you? Nice to see you. Deep Philippe, hey, Kevin, can you tell us a bit more about Thought AI, THT? Sure. So I had initial call with the guys at Thought. I said the guy at Thought. I think I had a call with their CEO back about 2.5 months ago, maybe 2 months ago, something like that. Look, AI is one of those terms now that gets thrown around, everywhere you go. It's either machine learning, AI, crypto, blockchain. They all kind of get jumbled into the same conversation somehow. And while lots of companies talk about AI, like you can already kind of have a personal assistant that can do everything for you, and humans are no longer needed in this planet, and all workers should just stop working because your laptop's just going to take over your house, your home, your car. Thought AI is actually looking to do some pretty cool stuff. And when we were talking to them, they're what we like to hear when we talk to companies is that their ethos kind of somewhat mimics ours. And I think there was lots of synergies between CoinMetro's ethos and that of Thought AI. Also, I mentioned about these kind of the Gann bubble, the Gann chart, right? That these things that we're kind of, or the Venn diagram, sorry, that we're kind of looking for when it comes to listings. And I think Thought AI fits right into one of those sweet spots, which is an interesting company doing interesting things with intelligent people that kind of blends into that our ethos and their ethos and their, what they're trying to do with their company, what we're trying to do with our company, what our high level values are. That aligns, which is great. And they simply don't have fiat on and off ramps, and that's something that we can offer. And I think it's a huge thing, because obviously most people getting into crypto, especially, and there's more people not in crypto than there is in crypto still. They're going to come on through fiat on and off ramps. They're not coming on through Uniswap. They're not coming on through some other decentralized protocol, and they're surely not in a stablecoin. So they need to come on through fiat on off ramps. We offer that. So finding companies that haven't yet, let's say, blossomed, are in the process of really creating their products, or already have a product or a service, and they're really starting now to push that out to a wider audience. I think that's a very, very cool kind of niche for CoinMetro. And over time, I'd love if in 5 years from now, big companies that are coming to list on exchanges that maybe are massive companies, Fortune 100s, 500s, 1000s, whatever, that decide to tokenize a piece of their infrastructure, let's say through some type of utility, you taking a utility or a feature set inside of their ecosystem and tokenizing it. They're going to go, well, there's those Coinbase guys, those guys that did that IPO for like 100 billion a couple years ago, and everybody hates them because their customer service sucks, blah, blah, blah. We could list with them. There's that company. What's their name? They bought that Chinese exchange that was about to get shut down by regulators. What was it called? Something like finance, but maybe with another letter. I don't remember what they were called. But we could go list with them, but they don't really offer anything except the listing. Oh, but there's those CoinMetro guys. Look at all these cool projects that they put together with some of the people, with some of the companies they've listed. Look at these awesome services. Look how great they are with customer support. Look at the fee structure. I mean, everything just works. So let's just go there. That sounds like a much better plan. And I think, again, starting in this kind of Venn diagram, one piece of that is something that I think Thought AI fits into perfectly. As far as exactly what they're doing, look, AI is a broad, very, very broad landscape. Most people talk about AI like it can be, anything that makes a decision, and that's not necessarily the case. But I do think Thought AI is interesting. I think you should probably be the judge for yourself whether you think what they're trying to do is interesting to you. But they have smart people. They know what they're doing. They've had experience, in the field that they're trying to conquer, which obviously is, artificial intelligence. So yeah, we go through a process. They went through the process. We liked them. We listed them. Simple as that. Next up, are the stock offerings in CoinMetro going to be tradable on the exchange? Bill Farlow. Hey, Bill. So the digital equity offerings on the Invest marketplace. So yes, not currently. So the way that the ecosystem works for those tokenized equity, tokenized debt, and this has changed. This has changed a bit since a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when we initially started talking about this idea with Ignium and CoinMetro and the Invest marketplace, primary, secondary, et cetera. It's changed a bit. And I've explained in other AMAs why it's changed. If someone wants to ask me for a bit more details, I can explain again. But the idea here is that Ignium will house the spot secondary market. So primary happens on CoinMetro, at least for the primaries that happen on CoinMetro. They could happen elsewhere as well, but primary happens on CoinMetro. Ignium has a peer-to-peer billboard-style secondary market. What does that mean? I mean, it's not a matching engine. It means there's offers to buy, offers to sell, and manually, people are basically crossing those offers and agreeing or negotiating on a price and then settling. And that's Ignium's job. Our job, as we move forward, as we acquire new licensing, investment firm licensing in Estonia, essentially MTF, multilateral trading facility, will allow us to provide trading on those same assets, but as derivatives, so options, futures, leverage trading on CFDs that are basically, the underlying instrument is that, let's say CoinMetro bond or CoinMetro debt and or Ignium equity, but you're going to be able to trade them on leverage as a contract for difference as a CFD. And we're doing that because we don't want to be in the same business. And for us, spot trading isn't where we really make most of our money. We make more money on leverage. We make more money on providing that credit to our clients. And we want to do so in a way that, our clients don't get wrecked. We don't charge liquidation fees. We don't want you to lose money. And in the new interim of both our margin platform and this new, let's call it a kind of, securities margin platform, we are going to do this in a way that people need to show us that they actually know what the risk is before they have the ability to take on more risk. And I think that's good. It follows, again, I talked about our ethos, talked about our values. I think that follows our values quite well. But that's where we're going to focus. So there is a current secondary market. It's at Ignium. You can go to app.ignium.io, open an account or log into your current account. If you've bought anything through CoinMetro's platform, any equity or any debt products, you already have an account at Ignium. You can use the forgot password button right on that app.ignium.io webpage and get access to Ignium, get access to that secondary market, and start to trade. Karsten, when will XCM be able to pair with other currencies like BNB does? Hey, Karsten. Well, we already do that. You can obviously buy XCM against Euro. You can buy XCM against USD. If you're asking about specific crypto assets, look, I hate going into these Binance questions too much because I could really just, destroy Binance in about 20 minutes. I mean, destroy them. I mean, I give you every secret in the book, everything they're doing behind the scenes. And, without tooting my horn too much, I'd be 90% correct without having any information. Because I've been around finance too long. I know how brokers work. I know how bucket shops work. I know how brokers work to trade and manipulate their own clients to their own gain. I've seen it happen. I've been on the other side of those things way too many times and spotted them. I've even fought for clients in the past, both in FX and in crypto, to get money back from liquidity providers that notoriously do really shitty things to their clients. But without going down that road too much, let's just say that BNB, when it first started, let's say BNB, when it was roughly the same price now as CoinMetro with similar volumes, did a lot of things we will never do here to artificially inflate their volume, artificially inflate the value of their asset, which has now led to them being able to open up additional books because they don't necessarily take on risk. They pass all that risk on to their clients. We don't want to do that here. We want to create a book that's healthy so that risk is not passed on to our clients, and nor do we take on existential risk internally. That's the better way to do business. Now, it may take longer. Well, it does take longer. It may, and the difficulty there is that most people don't understand how markets work. So when they look at the two, they go, that book looks better, or Binance has this asset with more quote unquote volume, which people think volume equals liquidity and liquidity equals volume. They don't. They're actually two very different things. You can have lots of liquidity and no volume. You can also have tons of volume and no liquidity. And what a good market or a healthy book will have dynamic liquidity and can then service volume as it rises. But I would say in the crypto sphere in general, you could count how many brokerages, if you want to, well, in traditional sense, we'd call them a brokerage or an exchange, how many actually function that way on one hand. In fact, you could probably count it on one hand if you were a Simpsons character. They only have 4 fingers, by the way, if nobody caught that one. So yeah, anyway, long answer to a short question. Point is that we will add additional crosses to XCM pairs when we know that it's not adding additional risk to our clients or to the company itself. Thoughts on Elon manipulating the market constantly with his tweets? Black Chicken 33. Black Chicken 33. What happened to Black Chicken 32? He's a really nice guy. Elon Musk. So I think I'm going to commission a T-shirt. Put the kids away real quick. Cover their ears. I was just going to say "fuck Elon Musk," and I'm just going to wear it proudly everywhere I go. It's kind of funny. Like, I don't really care about Elon Musk, to be honest. I don't really care what he thinks, what he tweets, and I honestly don't think that in the long run he's going to make any bit of difference at all. But this shows you how fickle retail markets are, and it shows you how easily somebody that's not necessarily everybody has this thing, right, where Elon Musk obviously has done well in his life, right? He was a kid. He said, you know what? Maybe when he was a kid, he was like, I want to build rockets and, make, I don't know, electric cars. And then, PayPal came along. He invested in PayPal, which at the time, many people thought was a useless business, right? Or a very high risk business. There was eBay, who had people selling nonsense online, and no one would give them access to credit cards, right? No one would give them access to merchant accounts because it was too high risk. So this company came along, PayPal, and said, well, we'll do it. Why not? Looks pretty easy. Nobody wants this business. We'll take it. Well, that business did really well. And then now Elon is like, a 12-year-old kid who said, I'm going to build a flamethrower and dig holes in the ground and build electric cars. So everybody looks at him and says, he's a super smart guy. Well, some people can be really smart on one thing, not really smart elsewhere. But what Elon understands is that one tweet can actually move the market. So he's going to keep tweeting. How do we stop him from tweeting? Well, stop making decisions based on his tweets. Simple as that. That should almost be common sense. I think most people, I would hope most people would kind of connect the dots. 1 + 1 is not 3, it's actually 2, I think. Unfortunately, it takes time for people to connect those dots, but they will connect the dots. And the SEC is going to connect those dots as well at some point. Now, right now, the SEC can't do much for a Dogecoin tweet or a Bitcoin tweet because they're not regulated financial instruments. But that doesn't mean that they can't go after him for treating them as such. So anyway, all I would say is that it's kind of good and bad. It's good because people have to realize that the only reason this is happening is because people follow his tweets. And are people really making money because they follow his tweets, or are they getting wrecked because they follow his tweets? Most people are getting wrecked, that's for sure. Some people might be making money, most people are getting wrecked, and eventually people stop following his tweets. Self-fulfilling prophecy, he stops tweeting. Offbeat refrigerator, right on. There was an agreement that reme will be unbanned at 10 cents. What happened? I don't have a copy of that agreement. Not sure I signed it digitally or otherwise. I don't know. I don't remember that one actually. Was it 10 cents? I don't know. If you can find the Remy's probably, Remy's in the group somewhere, man. He just has different names, probably Donald. But if you can find the message, forward it to me, and we'll get him unbanned. Why not? Having a battle of wits with Remy was always fun because it wasn't much of a battle. Okay, moving on. Kevin, can you give me your vision in influencers like our idiot Elon? On crypto and how you will benefit. Can you give me your vision in influencers on crypto on how you will benefit from this? All right. So you want my opinion on influencers and then how I'll benefit from my own opinion? I'll try to answer this one. I'm probably wrong. So just go ahead and ask again. Most influencers are worth about as much as, a bag of cold dog shit. Which isn't much, I think, on the secondary market. I haven't bought cold dog shit in a while, but I think it's worth pennies. I'm not sure. But yeah, influencers, I was just talking to somebody about an influencer. I won't name them because, I don't know. I just won't. I kind of want to, but I'm not going to. And, we were having this conversation. I'm like, when you look at this person, do you honestly look at this person? And the first thing that pops in your head says, this person's intelligent. They know what they're doing. Or is it just somebody getting paid in a bunch of shit coins and dumping on everybody and telling everybody that the price is going to go up? I would vote for the latter. Now, the problem is that in this business, influencers are a commodity that's sometimes needed in marketing. Why? Because unfortunately, people listen to these people. And, the whole idea behind influencers used to be, when this whole concept started, you didn't know people were influencers. YouTube didn't even exist. Influencers have been around since there was, video media. You ever see that can of Coke in a sitcom in your favorite show? You ever see that reference to some book or something else when you're watching the news? That's how influencing started. It's the idea that if someone tells you something's good and you don't know it's coming from the source, i.e. the source paid for it. So Coca-Cola is telling you Coca-Cola is great, because, Cindy Crawford's out in the desert drinking a Coca-Cola, and you think, well, by the way, for those of you who are not as old as I am, Cindy Crawford used to be a model. Anyway, then you're going to say, oh, well, she likes it, so it must be good, even though obviously she was paid, right? But that doesn't necessarily come to your frontal cortex. You're not thinking about that. So the only thing you're really thinking about, and that's how influencing started. And now it's anybody can be an influencer, right? Any half-wit with a shitty camera and a decent mic becomes an influencer. Great. World is heading in a good direction. Problem is, like I said, that sometimes to get the word out, you need to use these people for better or for worse. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. they're not going to go anywhere as long as people are paid to, well, say their quote unquote opinion, which really isn't their opinion. They're getting paid to say it. Then people are going to continue to accept money to say things that are quote unquote their opinion. And that's what newspapers are. That's what magazines are. That's what the news is. And that's what influencers do. So yeah, unfortunately, there is a need, and it does help brands get awareness. I would say my own personal opinion would be to try to steer away from those that are obvious. And my own thing, when I do interviews and stuff, I hate to go on interviews to specifically sell CoinMetro. I'd rather sell kind of myself, and that leads people to CoinMetro, or sell the fact that we know what we're doing, that we actually understand the market, that we're not just a bunch of dudes, trying to pump and dump on all our clients, rather than saying CoinMetro is now doing this, or this is the newest, greatest from CoinMetro. So yeah, I think subtlety, I think would be my approach. What are your thoughts on Thought AI? I think I already covered that one. How am Kodia? What were your go-to indicators back in your trading days? How long did it take you to get good? That's a good question, actually. I like this one. So my go-to indicator. So when I started my trading journey, I started like everybody else. But not really, because I started in 1997, 8, actually 96, really. And some of the, MACD and statistics and, all these were a thing. They existed. And I didn't understand indicators. I didn't really know what I was looking at. It's just, when or obviously moving averages, et cetera. When what it is was easier, obviously for me, like it is for most people. You look at a chart, and instead of having to figure out what's going on in the chart, I just see a line that points north, that means buy. One that points south, that means sell. Well, that sounds pretty easy. I must be a genius for figuring this out. And now I'm going to become a millionaire because I'm going to be an awesome trader. And the realization came pretty quickly that no, that's not the case at all. Obviously, if there was some indicator out there that could really tell you when to buy or sell, everybody would be a trader. Literally, your blind grandmother with one leg would be knocking it out of the park. She'd be a billionaire. She'd be trading. She'd be day trading stocks, commodities, equities, options. She'd be giving out. She'd be an influencer. She would be an influencer selling all kinds of wares on YouTube, but she's not, because trading's not easy, psychologically speaking. So I didn't really have a favorite indicator. I tried them all. Looking for that holy grail. And I think it took me about a year, actually, to figure out that this is stupid, because obviously everybody that doesn't know what they're doing is doing the same thing I'm doing right now. So I'll give you a little anecdote to this. I love giving anecdotes. Sometimes I get in trouble from anecdotes. I made an anecdote about my dad once, and the next day he called me on the phone. It was like, I heard you talking about me on the AMA. He's gonna call me tomorrow now. And I was like, yeah, it was in jest. Maybe it wasn't in jest. I don't remember the comment. Anyway, here's an anecdote for you. So have you ever been with somebody that likes to ask questions to the exact wrong person, like all the time? You ever like, you'll go somewhere, you'll be at a gas station and something's wrong with your car, and they'll ask the person at the gas station, because they work with cars, that somehow they know how the car works because they pump gas, and there's no correlation whatsoever. Yeah, well, that's essentially what it's like when you're trying to use MACD, statistics, or a moving average to trade. Because everybody who has no idea what they're doing, that's exactly what they're doing. And that's why they have no idea what they're doing, and that's why they don't make any money. So when I came to that realization, I said, well, how do I get around this? What do people that know how to trade do? And that's when I came upon the epiphany. And that's naked charts. Nobody who actually makes money, unless they're a very unsophisticated desk trader that is only there really to balance a book, like treasury management, uses any indicator, because they're all lagging. All indicators do is lag price. When you trade with an indicator, you're late already. You're always late. You're never on time. It's like arriving 20 minutes late for the bus every time you make a decision. Like, I'm going to take a bus now. Oh, I'm going to buy a bus ticket. Oh, every time. You're just late. You'll never be on time. So naked chart trading. And the only thing that I actually started to use aside from that for confirmation was volume. Now, volume is a tricky thing in many markets, OTC markets specifically, like FX or like crypto, because there's no centralized market. So volume is probably bullshit. Binance's volume is bullshit, 100%. You could show me any evidence you want to try and defer me from that. I guarantee you, guaranteed, it's bullshit. How much it's bullshit? Well, that's where you start to get speculative, but it's bullshit. And the only reason it's bullshit is because there's no one to check it. So obviously it's bullshit. You know, you let humans do what they want without any checks or balances. You know, we lie. We're pretty good at it. So yeah, so volume. I would use volume. That was probably the indicator I would use the most. All other indicators are nonsense. Really, all they're doing is just providing you a different way to look at a chart and a chart that's lagging. So you know, some people like to use like point and figure charts because they're easier to digest. You know, some people like to use things like, you know, Japanese candlesticks, et cetera, because they feel they're easier to digest. They make better decisions. Some people like to use line charts. Other people, you know, whatever you end up feeling comfortable with, just, you know, support, resistance. You know, you can look for chart patterns. Chart patterns as well are a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but they can sometimes help you get better entries. Anyway, I could do a whole show on this one, so I'm going to move on because I probably spent too much time on it already. Any news on supporting Flux snapshots? Not yet. I will do my best to get news for next week for you on that, guys, because that'll still be about a few days before I think the first snapshot comes out. So, Henrik, I am on it for next week. Anybody who's paying attention to this, Edward Oliver, make a note. Next week, need some information on Flux screen snapshots. Tell us about the Dubai stuff. The Dubai stuff. I was waiting for this question. So Dubai was really good. I've been to Dubai before. If you haven't, it's hot. That's about it. It's hot. Funny thing about Dubai, life revolves around the mall. Normally when you go to a city anywhere in the world and someone says, you know, let's go out for a nice dinner, no one stands up and goes, well, let's go to the mall. It just doesn't happen. You know, the mall, you go to eat at the mall because you're going to die of hunger and you happen to be at the mall. So eat the mall, right? You don't eat at the mall. You don't invite people out to eat at the mall. Usually that doesn't happen, especially for like a business dinner. But in Dubai, life revolves around the mall. There's like Michelin star restaurants in malls, which is kind of weird. Anyway, Dubai. So I went out to Dubai with little expectations. Why did I have little expectations? Well, I don't go to crypto conference with expectations. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt literally, and always was disappointed. So Miami's going on right now. I was in Miami 2018. Lots of expectations. Miami was a waste of time. It's a bunch of dudes talking about Lambos that didn't have Lambos. I literally saw a guy with Lambo shorts, a Lambo keychain, and saw him go out in the parking lot and get into a Honda. Not lying. That is an absolute true story. If I was younger than I am, I probably would have took a picture of it and like smiled and made it like a meme. But my brain doesn't think that fast with memes. At least back then it didn't. Not now, I might actually meme it, maybe. But I didn't back then. So anyway, no expectations going to Dubai. Got there first day, mingled a bit. Had my panel, got on my panel discussion. It was a pretty good one actually. Guy by the name of Alexander and I had a debate about the future of banking on blockchain. A debate a bit about Bitcoin and how trustless systems were going to take over the world. It was actually a decent debate. And on the back of that, someone asked a question in the audience, pretty good one, ended up chatting with them. And I'm actually flying to go meet them tomorrow for 2 days. Potentially will become a shareholder of CoinMetro and potentially Ignium actually, and potentially CoinMetro as well. Also sat down with at least 6 or 7 people, locals living in Dubai, some working for the president's office in Abu Dhabi, others in other sections of government, as well connected to the royal family. Funny thing is that at least 4 people told me the same rumor about XCM that I definitely didn't start. I've never even heard it before, actually. 4 different people with no connection directly to one another, all in Dubai, had the same exact, almost verbatim, very positive rumor about XCM. Which was kind of interesting because we didn't start it. So that shows that there's already something brewing in the in the UAE that we didn't start. I don't know who started it, but whoever it was, hats off to you, my friend. And had a couple of business dinners. I definitely think that we're going to pursue a bit Dubai. We're going to pursue a bit AED on and off ramps. Have a connection to an on and off ramp actually that I'm going to have a call with hopefully next week when I'm back from this quick trip. And hopefully during the summer, we're going to launch, at least as a test case, fiat on and off ramp in AED. May potentially have a few more trips out to Dubai. to sit down with some of these investors. Definitely a lot of people asking about XCM, asking about utility of XCM. XCM staking was a conversation I had more than once. XCM staking that's also Sharia compliant was a conversation I had more than once. I think it already is, to be honest, but definitely it's something that we're going to look into to see if we can expand more into that region. It just shows that this regional, kind of local regional first to go global. Remember me talking about that in 2017? I think I baffled a few people, and some people didn't really get it. But to go global, you have to go regional and local first. You can't go global in finance by going global. It's not that easy. So Dubai was a great trip, definitely worth it. I've already seen some fruits from that trip, already seen some onboarded clients of people I talked to, already seen even some investments into Ignium's fundraising from that trip in Dubai. And I do think that we're going to see more and more fruit coming out of that area of the world. And I expect to be there more and more, hopefully not in the summer when it's 55 and 100% humidity. But you know, if I have to, I will take one for the team and get it done. Hey Kev, do you have any XCM specific marketing coming up? Absolutely, we do. So Paul, our new head of marketing, who you guys may have seen in Telegram floating around, he has a last name. I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to. I'm going to call him Paul D. Actually, I don't know why his email just wasn't Paul D. We should definitely make a note of that, because I can't even email him. He's literally my head of marketing, and every time I go to email him, I'm like, oh, Christ. And I can't spell his name. It's ridiculous. But hey, that's what happens. You know, most CEOs wouldn't tell you they can't remember the last name of one of their employees. I'm being honest. The name is just ridiculous. Too long. I think you should shorten it. We're just going to call him Paul D from now on. But anyway, Paul is inside of Telegram. He's doing a good job. We're really focusing on a few pieces of marketing. He has lots of video experience. You might have noticed some of these short videos that we're testing with. I actually owe Paul a few short videos that I've been promising now for 3 days. He's probably getting annoyed from asking me. I'm not annoyed yet from him asking though. But today I got to knock out a few of those videos. But you're going to start to see more and more video content. It's going to might get a bit goofy. I've been asked to do things I never thought I would do as an adult male. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try to knock out some of these videos and like overact. I think I overact just, you know, as normally. I'm pretty, maybe I don't. I think I do though. But I got to really go overboard for some of these videos, but we'll see how it works out. But anyway, Paul's doing a great job. Paul's aligning everything in marketing. And yes, there definitely will be some specific XCM marketing. Absolutely. It's like 50% of the plan. 60-second thing is cool. Get all important information out there. Nicola, thank you very much. I think we went 90 seconds. But that's not that bad for the first time. Come on, man. Any ideas when the Zelcore integration is coming? Don't have any information on Zelcore integration. I know we're in constant communication with these guys, still fine-tuning a few things about staking, making sure that nodes are being launched in time, making sure that when nodes fall offline, that there is a alerting system and some redundancy so that we don't lose time and you know, those nodes aren't falling offline. So there's still a few things happening there, and that's priority. But when that's done, this is definitely something we're going to talk about, and I'll make a note of that as well. Edward Oliver, make a note of that one. That we need to, on my 60 seconds next week, goal would be to chat about that as well, about Zelcore integration. BizDev news, if no one asked yet. Hey, Henrik. So we had a bit of BizDev news in my 60-second recap. And that was, well, AED on and off ramp. Let me take this out of here. AED on and off ramp. We're talking about, obviously, Flux staking. We're talking about KDA bonding coming up very soon. We're talking about XCM staking, which necessarily isn't BizDev, but may lead to some BizDev. Also have a really interesting idea floating around the office right now about supporting some local businesses here in town through our Invest platform, which we'll be talking about more and more, I think, in the coming weeks. It's a really cool idea. It's a way for us to get our name more out here locally. It's also for a way to us to start to build the XCM ecosystem outside of CoinMetro. So think, you know, restaurant stores accepting XCM. That is one of the goals. The other goal is just to support a local community and show them that CoinMetro is a pretty cool place. So that's also in the works. What else we got in the bibs there? There might be a few other things, but I'm going to move on. If something else pops into my head, I will come back to it. Hey, Pierre, will CoinMetro have plans to include in any certain way minting holding of NFTs? So NFT bubble is deflating a bit when it comes to art, I believe. There are lots of use cases for NFTs, non-fungible tokens. For those of you who don't know the difference between fungible and non-fungible, so let's say I have this cell phone here. It was just a Galaxy 20, I think. If I took my Galaxy 20 and it had no battery, and I just threw it into a pile with a bunch of other Galaxy 20s, I would have no idea which Galaxy 20 is mine. It's fungible. It's not distinguishable between any other of the ones in the pile. It's like a pile of needles. I don't know which needle is mine. I'll just pick one. Doesn't matter. They're all the same. Non-fungible is absolutely different. Think of me throwing the same phone into the pile, but constantly on with a unique image on the screen. Now my phone is different in some way from every other phone in that pile. I can find it. I can find it pretty easily. Now it's non-fungible. So it's not like every other one. It is unique. So you can imagine all the different things that non-fungible tokens could potentially be tied to. I mean, the easy one, I guess, is trade, when moving goods, being able to check the origin of a goods, making sure, checking the entire path of one single egg, one single piece of meat, what cow it came from, who butchered that cow. I don't know why I'm talking about meat as a vegan, but anyway, non-fungibles have, even in finance, imagine, LLCs, when you buy into a company, you actually know exactly which piece of the company you own because it's tied distinctively to you, and it's different from every other piece. So that means you can buy 1.12565%, or you can buy 2.68256778%, and that's different than the other guy who bought 2.2528674.3%, et cetera, with a non-fungible token. Non-fungibles can actually power a lot of movement in finance that happens behind the scenes. You'll never actually know that non-fungibles are involved, but non-fungibles are groundbreaking. But what they're doing right now with NFTs is kind of bullshit, and I don't expect this kind of art craze to last all that much longer. In fact, the amount of NFTs being sold has drastically reduced, about 80–90% less than where it was only a few months ago. That doesn't mean that art, an NFT, NFTs connected to art is a bad thing, because, why not? But it's not the future of NFTs. So I am going to have a discussion on this trip about NFTs because it's something that this particular investor wants to talk about. I'm willing to go down the road. And I get that, from a business angle, you can make some money on NFTs. That's great. I think longer term, though, there's a lot of things that can be done with NFTs that aren't really being looked at yet that could be much more interesting, both from a business angle and just from a usability, from kind of a feature angle, a utility angle. So far, has the Ignium public equity sold as quickly as you expected? Hey, Scolby, I love these questions. I get these all the time. Is CoinMetro where you expected it to be in 4 years? I mentioned that when I went to Dubai with no expectations. As I get older, I don't know if I have expectations other than I'm ready to manage things as they come my way. So I have a goal, not necessarily expectations. So we still haven't seen a lot of the pre-committed money come in. It's coming in next week. So I would say yes, it's doing quite well. I think it'll sell out next week. I think by Wednesday, Thursday next week, there's nothing left. You may see a lull over the weekend because a lot of the money that's going to come in is coming from traditional investors. And so they have to wire money. So nothing really going to happen on the weekend. Most of the money that came in was from CoinMetro clients so far. And we saw 400K come in. That's amazing. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate everybody supporting Ignium. I think Ignium is a great company. I think it's going to do great things, but I'm kind of humbled by the fact that every time we launch something that has some connection to CoinMetro, Backify, Oliver being the COO, me being kind of an advisor there, Ignium with me being a shareholder, et cetera. You guys just continually show that you're supporting CoinMetro, supporting me, supporting everybody at CoinMetro. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's a great feeling, and I thank you for that. And now we have all these pre-commitment monies that are going to roll in early next week. I think that's going to get us close to selling out, and I think we're going to see some momentum after that into the mid to middle end of next week. Jet fuel. The new marketing videos are great. Would you consider doing 30 minutes a week to make a crypto TA video? Sure, I'd consider it. Absolutely. I don't know how much I want to go down the trading angle, because I'd rather kind of go high level and show people why crypto TA is kind of bullshit, where I can take the same chart and go bullish or bearish. And either way, I'll be right, which means as an influencer, I could simply just make 2 videos under 2 different headings, or sell them to 2 different companies. One of them is going to be right. One of them is going to be wrong. But at the end of the day, who cares? Because that one that was right, they're going to ask for more videos. So yeah, but talking about trading in general and technical analysis, fundamentals, how they both play together, how to look at a chart, how to look at support and resistance, et cetera, why not? How is recruiting from developers going? Definitely have some recruiting's happening all over the place, not just for developers, but definitely I think we have received some CVs. They're being looked at. Our new COO has been in town since the beginning of the week, actually since the weekend, but in the office since the beginning of the week. Showed up a bit late yesterday, a little bit of a curtain snafu. But other than that, he's been here every day. And yeah, we're kind of, there's lots of things going on other than what would normally happen in the office, because obviously we got new faces and everybody's kind of eager to build a bond, et cetera, which is cool. But yes, new developers definitely is high on the priority list. We have so much we want to do here. The list of what we want to do is massive. And if we did it with our current resources, we'd probably finish sometime in 3,247 roughly. And of course, that would be AD, in case anybody was taking notes. So we absolutely need more developers. And yes, we do have some resumes flowing in. And yes, we are looking for the right people, not just, developers. What would you think about USD Tether possibly being the biggest Ponzi scheme in history? Tether's an interesting one in the fact that obviously they had this inquiry from the New York State Attorney General. It's an inquiry only, guys. So they got through it, but they got through it by saying that like 80% of what backs Tether is debt, but they didn't disclose who holds the debt. It literally could, it could be me. I could just be sitting here with an IOU from Tether. It's not. It's definitely not me. But it could be anybody. It could be any nonsense institution opened in some nonsense country by some nonsense people just to be able to print. You ever find it weird though that every time Tether prints, it ends up at Huobi and Binance? Have you noticed that? Every time? Like literally 100 billion minted in Tether, 80 billion at Binance, 20 billion. It always goes to the same 2 places. It's kind of comical, funny, scary, and ridiculous all at the same time. I don't know whether to giggle, laugh, cry, or just, hang myself. I probably wouldn't hang myself because I don't own any Tether, never would, never will. We're actually discussing internally about potentially bringing Tether in because they got around this kind of New York State Attorney General thing. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not liking Tether at all. The fact that literally they're printing fake money on the back of bullshit debt doesn't really, I don't know. Anyway, I don't think it's being a Ponzi scheme. Everybody likes to say the word Ponzi scheme for any fraud. It's like a dude robs a bank and it's like, it's a Ponzi scheme, but it's not, it wouldn't be a Ponzi scheme. No, it's fraud. Absolutely. If they get, it would be fraud, massive fraud on a massive scale, but not a Ponzi scheme. So can you please just release XCM staking if it's ready now? Like Oliver said, we've had months of delays. Please don't further delay for marketing. Hey, Charlie, I'm on the fence on that one because every time we really look, you guys ask us for stuff, right? Like I'd really like to have whatever. And like people are just berating us. And then we launch it. Nobody cares. They don't even use it. Literally. I'd love to see this listing. Nobody trades it. I absolutely want to see this product. We launch it. Nobody uses it. Companies do marketing around product launches for a reason. And so, man, I love you guys as a community. Absolutely. And I think I say that I hope I say it enough. Maybe I don't. But if I don't, I truly do. And that's why I treat you guys like you're sitting on the board. That's why we have these AMAs, and I'm pretty open. I don't really hide anything from you guys, even when asked to. Usually something slips out. But here, this is going to be one of the biggest releases we do all year. It's massive and could have a massive, massive effect in the short, medium, and long term on XCM, its price, its circulating supply, etc. The more people that know about that, the better. Now, you can make the argument that if they know later, what's the difference? But we also need to get better at coordinating internally about releases and marketing. It can't be release, marketing 2 months later, or marketing and missed release, or whatever. There has to be better coordination why not start now? Why not start now? If it means 1 week more, but a better cohesion inside the company, I think for the long term, that kind of makes some sense. How far will Flux Zelcore integration go? For example, non-custodial trading assets in my Zelcore wallet. We talked about this actually last week, the week before. That is the goal. Specifically, when I initially talked to the Zelcore guys, Zel Network guys, we talked about, I brought up non-custodial trading. That was one of the first things I brought up actually, and it's definitely a goal. How far it will go is a speculative answer because it really depends on how the partnership flourishes. And right now it's going well. And if it continues to go well, it's just going to continue to go. I mean, we're not going to stop and say, well, we could do this, but why? We've already done all this other stuff. Why would we continue? As long as the partnership, is good and momentum is good and things are going well, we're going to continue to try and see what we can do together. Not just with Zel Network, but with KDA and potentially Thought AI and everything we list. That's why we try to list things we can work with rather than just list things to list them. Or when there is a sudden influx, I get it, of Flux users, does CM have the capacity to start up dozens of new nodes? What happens with excess Flux less than 100K, not enough for Stratus? So we have our own node running at 100K all the time. So that's how we cover that buffer when there's less than 100. There's always a node running with excess funds, both our funds and Flux's own funds, and that's why that's not an issue. And yes, we're right now the effort is somewhat manual. So they get alerts from us. They also get now automatic alerts from their own system when new nodes need to be launched. But I think it's still a manual process on their side. But they're looking to automate. So there can be a bit of a lag. But what we can do to buffer that lag as well is have other 100K Flux nodes running. Enough so that we know between the net inflow and outflow of new Flux nodes that we always have enough running in the background to cover potentially any delays that may happen from launching new Flux nodes. I missed the first part of your question. The front end looks gorgeous, clear and easy to use. Thanks. Oliver gets a big pat on the back for that one, as well as our everybody in UI UX design, both internal and external. Definitely a great job on product. I'm interested to know a little more about behind the scenes specific. Does CM run all nodes? We do not run the nodes in-house. Zel Network actually runs the nodes. How does the Ncase testing? So Ncase we haven't started testing Ncase yet. There's actually been a delay on the Parsec side for Ncase. They started focusing more on IQ. IQ, we're gonna hopefully get some APIs from them mid-June, next week or so, and we'll be able to start testing the IQ protocol. No word yet on when Ncase will be testable. Any word on further liquidity for PRQ, KDA, Quant, Link, and even XCM? Trying to get in and out of positions during times of high volatility with a 100K stack is definitely difficult, feeling trapped. Well, I think if you bought a 100K stack, hopefully you're in for the long term, and over time, all of those are going to increase with liquidity because more clients means more liquidity. The more affiliates send us clients, the more marketing we do, the more clients we get, the more liquidity there is. As far as PRQ, Quant, Link, and those have liquidity from a connected liquidity provider. It is somewhat dynamic, which means that the more people that trade, the more liquidity you're going to see in that book when there's less people trading. So, if you're trading with a 100K stack on those, to be honest, it shouldn't be that difficult to get out. It's a limit order, or it's, I would, in any market, I don't care how liquid it is, trading with market orders should be your last ditch. You should never trade with a market order unless you have to. Absolutely. If it's an emergency, if you absolutely have to get out of a position, and or you absolutely are looking to cost average into some volatility, which is kind of stupid to begin with, always use a limit order. If you miss a trade, there's always a new one to come along. When it comes to KDA, it's hard to find liquidity on KDA. So unfortunately, not a lot of market makers are willing to market make KDA, but that will change over time as KDA becomes more popular, especially once their deck starts to take off. And XCM, we are currently in talks right now as part of this whole really not boring treasury that I talked about in 60 seconds last week, to where I think we will be adding some dynamic liquidity to the XCM book as well over the next few months. Is June 10th still on track for staking? Technically, yes. We're going to see how that plays out, though, when it comes to the marketing side of things. Many people are interested in getting involved with mining, but it can be complex with a high amount of capital to get started. Have you ever considered a CoinMetro mining pool? Haven't. I think for the most part, for us to get involved in mining, even with a pool, is going to be expensive. Now, mining, let's say exotics, can still be profitable and interesting. Mining of the big boys, you're going to spend lots of money. And so it's kind of, I don't want to say it's too late because that sounds pessimistic. But, mining Bitcoin, Ethereum, the big boys, there's so much competition that's fueled by billions and billions and billions of investment that unless you have a niche, you have free energy, you have access to renewables, you have companies willing to provide everything that's needed, and it's just management of mining those things is, I think now, it's a corporate gig, a big corporate gig. Mining things, more exotic things that can potentially give higher revenues in the short term is cool. Still costly, but also it means you need to be on the ball to know when you need to move from one asset to another. Because if you're trading one asset that's unique and paying off, and then it starts to pay off less, you need to move quick. And so that means sometimes changing out hardware, et cetera. So for the time being, no, but potentially in the future. I mean, it's always something that's kind of on the back of my mind, to be honest. Black Chicken 1 to 32 died crossing the road. Okay. It was 32 was a good man. Was a good man. The CM volume is still hovering around single-digit million per day, high compared to the early days, but seem to be stagnating. Well, that has one to do with TRAM. TRAM volumes have fallen off a bit since the Wednesday before last's day of reckoning in crypto. But exactly, if you compare that to last year, we're still at that 5 million average per day when we take the average since the beginning of the year. So we're still at where we wanted to be at the end of the year, and according to our projections. So we're still doing well. We have to rebuild. We're going to be, we have to retool the TRAM platform, which we are doing. That's coming. That's going to help us bring on more TRAM managers, which is really a way to pump volume. It really is. You guys should be able to see that when you see the amount of volume one TRAM manager can do. Imagine 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50, the amount of volume that they can do. It's also much, much easier for us to understand new clients going into a TRAM, how much we're going to be making on those clients versus what we'll make if they trade on their own. So TRAM has always been a big piece, and it's going to become a bigger and bigger and bigger piece as we move forward, and we are in the process of making that a thing. But yeah, look, we will build out more volumes. I think prices have been stagnating as well on majors. We have people out there giving 20, 30% yield on stable coins, et cetera. People are selling off to get 20% yield. That's not going to last forever. In fact, it's not going to last that long at all. There will be more demand for the yield than there is to pay the yield. And when that happens, those yields are going to crash and burn. And when that happens, you're going to see volatility come back into the majors and then again back into altcoins. I would say we have maximum a few months before you start to see rate crashes all over the place. I'm not talking about rug pulls, I'm talking about a company that says we're going to pay 20%. Either they know internally that that's not going to last forever, or they don't. And that latter is a much worse situation to be in. I think most of these guys know. But what happens is that, you have 100 million under management, you can pay the 20%. Okay, cool, because you're able to generate revenues based on the new clients coming in and them interacting with your ecosystem, your protocol. But when you have 100 billion, you can't. You can't pay 20% anymore because the revenue you're able to generate is not significant enough to pay 20%. So you pay 2%. And then when people realize that they're only getting 2% for an asset they don't really understand in the beginning, they withdraw their money. And then the rate may go higher again, but the amount of pooled assets goes lower, and people pump those back into the majors, et cetera. And then the majors go higher, people take profits on the majors and they put them in altcoins. That is the general musical chairs of crypto, and I expect to see that happening again into the summer. I'm shocked people still listen to Elon Musk. I'm not shocked at all. People in general, the only reason we're high up on the food chain is because we have thumbs. Remember that. Can you keep the questions on screen? I would do that, but marketing asked me not to. So I will swing back to marketing and see if I can leave them on the screen again. I like leaving them on the screen because sometimes I forget what I'm answering halfway through. I just go way too long, and I'm like, I just ramble. That's not good. That's not a good look. Gray hair in your beard and you're rambling. It's like halfway to senility? Senility, yeah. All right, so I'm going to take 1 or 2 more questions. I'm about 5 minutes over, though I do realize I was a bit late because I had some technical issues. Heard on Telegram that the main reason you aren't listing XMR is because there's not enough demand. It has an online community equal to Link, fundamentally the superior digital currency. Thank you, Dr. Freeze, for your opinion on fundamentally superior digital currencies. Demand doesn't mean demand globally. There could be demand globally, we need demand at CoinMetro. We also need a viable way to get demand to CoinMetro. And we also can't, we have so many things we want to list. This is listed lots of places. So it's not going to put a spotlight on CoinMetro necessarily. It's like Coinbase listing Dogecoin, which, by the way, is kind of ridiculous. So one, and the privacy element, that does make it sometimes a bit difficult for us to deal with external parties like banks, EMIs, et cetera, because they believe that that's going to add more risk into our ecosystem. So it's also about placating them first to make sure that this business decision is going to make enough money and make enough sense for us to actually take the risk that we might lose some of those connected parties. So it's not a simple decision. It's not just that we don't think there's demand globally. We obviously know there's some demand globally, absolutely. If you had a gun to your head, ask what you think the best performing crypto this year or next year would be, what would your answer be? XCM. I mean, come on. Well, I wouldn't have to think about that one. Actually, though, if I had a gun to my head, meaning they're probably going to steal it, I would say, Dogecoin. And then when they said, give me all your Dogecoin, I would say, I don't have any. And then they'd get really upset, try to shoot me, and I'd like matrix my way around the bullet and, be the hero for the day. At least that's how I see it in my own head. I don't know if it would actually work out that way. What was the rumor at Dubai? I'm saving that one for another week. The rumor was quite cool, actually, and I have no idea where it came from. Basically, XCM is the future of, and in the same sentence, it was that XRP. There was also, in the same rumor, there was a mention of XRP. Nothing to do with CoinMetro, but like XRP kind of was correlated to something, and XCM was the future of something else. And I never heard it before. So it was quite interesting. Already reserve Philippe C at CoinMetro, because if you can't pronounce Paul's last name, you'll never pronounce mine. Right on. Let me know what your name is, because maybe I can pronounce you. I might surprise you. Dun, dun, dun. All right, last question. You are an investor. Okay, you have 10 ETH. Not much of an investor. You want to invest in 3 to 5 projects for 2 years. What do you consider? Yes, I know you can't give investment advice. Well, this whole bullshit where people say like, this is not investment advice, and then lead to give you investment advice always makes me chuckle. Yeah, it's like saying, this is not murder, and then I stab you in the neck, and then somehow I'm going to go to court and say, I didn't murder them. I clearly said I wasn't murdering them before I stabbed them in the neck. So this actually isn't investment advice, because I'm not going to give you any specifics. This is what I would tell you. If 10 ETH is all you have, meaning you have nothing else invested elsewhere, you should invest 2 ETH, not 10. That other 8 ETH should probably go somewhere like staking or something that's going to give you some cash flow. So if these other 2 ETH get blown up, you still have an investment. 3 to 5 projects. So I would pick one thing that I thought was very early stage and potentially would go 1,000x. I'm not going to give you a specific, but that's where I would start. I would probably pick 2 things, maximum 3 things that had already seen some traction, but that their communities, along with their goals and visions, showed that they were probably still undervalued. And you can take all kinds of metrics to try and figure out something is undervalued. But I would like to see the community is very important in crypto. Absolutely, it's ultra important. That community becomes your investors. They're your customers. They're your investors, etc. And then I would pick probably 1 to 2 projects that are basically your blue chips, and that may be leaving that would be partially, that could be those 8 ETH or whatever, or some ETH that you leave in ETH, maybe some Bitcoin, etc. I wouldn't go for all high flyers, or I would take that 10 ETH and divide it into 10 projects or 20, much less money per project, looking specifically for possible 1,000x's. And manage my portfolio with a literally not a diamond hand, but a very flexible one that's ready to get in and out of those things as they fluctuate and I see more volatility. All right, I'm going to end it there, guys. We're 10 minutes over. I think I was about 10 minutes late, roughly. Not so bad. Actually, I was, according to this, 9 minutes and 39 seconds late, so that's not too bad. On the back of that, have a great weekend, guys. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button or the heart button or the confetti button, or I don't know what network you're on. Whatever you're doing, make sure you try to tell us how much you love us. If you don't like us, let us know as well, because that means we should probably change something, or I should change something, or maybe the forehead needs to be shinier next week. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe because if you don't subscribe, how would you possibly know to come here every Friday and listen to me talk for an hour straight? I mean, that has to be a high list on your priorities. I know it is for me. At least talking is for me. I don't know about listening. I generally listen to myself, I think, at least for half of the show. The other half, I'm probably off somewhere else. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. You know how, as I say, spend some time with friends and family. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. Hopefully you can do it physically now. Lots of countries are opening up. When you do, when you're sitting down to that dinner without a mask on, make sure you keep mouthing the word XCM. Just keep saying it throughout the entire dinner. You don't necessarily need to verbally say it. Just keep moving your face. Get that subliminal message out to the entire table. Make sure they all FOMO in. This weekend would be nice. Also, while you're at it, start talking about Ignium. Let's get over that hump. Let's get to 1 million. I think we're going to get there anyway. But if Grandma and Grandpa want to throw in a few bucks, have at it. I jest, not really, but I do. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you on Telegram. You can tag me at Kevin Murcko. You can tweet me at Kevin Murcko. See you then, and look for some more short videos. They're going to be coming. Hopefully, they're going to be good. Half of that falls on me. Half of that falls on Paul. So we'll see. Cheers, everybody.